Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the canyon. Welcome back to more of the wizarding world. And we are... I don't know if I can call it outright a canyon change. I don't know if I can say this has been a canyon change, because there has been a reasonable amount of testing and tinkering in between when you saw Madam Mim last, M&M, in between when you saw her last and when you see her now. Some of the choices made have been cosmetic. Some of the choices made have been purely performance-oriented, and some of the changes made are both works in progress and a little bit of that good old-fashioned guesswork, because, well, the chassis, once you get into some flat plate, low center of gravity chassis, they kind of all start to look alike, but it's the little bits of differences that make all that difference. As I've made the painting analogy perhaps one too many times in the past, painting is 95% prep and 5% painting. Setting one of these up is 5% building it and 95% tuning it. So it's kind of the opposite of painting. We consider building it the prep portion. So Madam Mim has had some changes undergone. First of the cosmetics would be, I saw those wheel face plates, and I said to myself, well, I guess we have to buy those. They just look too good. You see the changes that were not cosmetic. You see that sparkle down in there. That's a lot of gold looking. Knuckle weights and the brass inner barrel for the beadlock. In terms of other brass, there's a little homespun action back here, because I feel like it needs a little bit of weight in the back, not a lot. This is an experiment that costs nothing but about 10 minutes of my time, a little bit of half-inch brass rod turned down to fit. And I'm curious about it because it is sprung. It can be high, but there is so much front weight now that right, you can almost get it. See, I mean, it'll sit on the nose, but you can very nearly rock cairn this and get it to stand. So it was a little bit nose happy before. She tended to get a little teeter-tottery. That teeter-totteriness now is really kind of amplified. I have long tried to espouse the position that fore to aft balance is not nearly as critical as sprung ratio versus unsprung ratio. Now, one of the last tests, I was on those generic Amazon oil slick wheels. We are obviously back on these. The rears got even lighter. They're about 135 grams a piece out at the back. And you know what? You're here. I haven't done it. I haven't actually weighed one of these fronts to see where these come out. The brass knuckles from Ottsix are not small. They were definitely designed to work with these wheels. Actually, that doesn't feel absurdly heavy, and why would it, as those are 135. 193. So this combo is lighter than what we were running before. And look at that. So, on the scales, she just went mere moments ago. We've also made some link position changes. We've made some shock position changes. Been kind of working through them. I've gone to a high clearance link in the rear. I've gone to the forward most shock mounting position, so I moved forward 1 hole because I wanted to put a bit more attitude on the rear pumpkin. What this does, listen to this sound. That is the rear uppers impacting that brace, because I rocked the pumpkin so much that it required the high clearance to clear the pumpkin. I mean, to clear the drive shaft. The drive shaft was going right into those rear uppers. Now, when you get that full collapse like that and we get that mechanical bind, that's just going to make it so where we can almost do the same perfect balance, because it's holding. It won't just compress the rear. This allows you to run a softer spring in the rear, which will give you more compliance in all other situations. Like, I haven't really looked at its side hilling. I haven't looked at her in like specific just tire test terms. What I've been doing is going to obstacles and gates that I had known in the past to give me issue. So with the brass added, we are now sitting at 2,479, 2,479 grams. The cross weight is imperfect, but we are still in a shock and link tuning phase. So the 68 grams, the 2.5 ounces differential in cross, 49.51 on the split, is not, I'm not particularly worried about it. What I would be worried about if I chose to worry about something is that it is 65% front weight, and that slug weighs 63.3 grams. That is all the way at the back. I cannot mount anything further back than that, and despite adding 2 ounces to the back, we've still moved a couple percent more towards the front. So, unsurprisingly, but all of the weight added in the front, all of it is unsprung. We've got a little bit of rotating, but 193 grams for a weighted wheel is not particularly heavy, because what I had noticed was the ultra air downs in the front and the mediums, just regular air downs in the back, it seemed like we were compromising compliance all the time. So I took the one that is for the rear and I put it in the front. So this is the medium air down, or just the regular air down. The rear tire is now fitted with this cut inner. I have 2 of these. They're in there. Picture they're in there. And they are wrapped in the outer, basically, filter media of the ultra air down from the front. So I've basically turned the formerly medium into a soft, because it's running in the front, where it has a lot of PSI on it, because I'm telling you, and I've turned the rear into a proper medium. Actually, I would say 1 step below a Canyon medium. We could go 1 step up, which would be to go from that filter media to the traditional hair bun, or even a Canyon soft. That is the beauty of the swap to megalithics, because I can just keep experimenting with the insert until I get the insert that matches it just perfectly. And this is tuning to my driving style. It is tuning to driving through the obstacles that I drive through all the time. In terms of CG, it has undoubtedly come down, because we've added it has to be close to 200 grams per corner in the front, 400 grams onto the front axle, out of a vehicle that weighs 2,400. So that is, what, 1/6? We've added 16% of the total vehicle's weight to just the front axle. 65-35. The rears look good. We've got a preponderance of weight on this tire in the front, and I would like to say, based on what I've done in the past, that's because all the link geometry is on this side. So the panhard is pushing weight over. If we could magic servo and axle over there and kind of ruin the whole experience, the fact that this is as capable as it is on chassis mounted steering is a big part of the joy of it for me. So I also removed a little bit of weight. There was the electronics tray here that was not being used. That has been removed. I had debated, and am still debating, over moving the ESC from here up to here. So ESC right there, receiver right next to it. Just run the wires over like that. I have them snaked around the side like that. Didn't make any spring changes. Feels pretty close. It doesn't have a lot of wheel time in any of the configurations. So it's like it's a where I just kept making changes and doing it in what is kind of the worst possible way, which is not giving it enough time in between changes to be like, did that work? Did that not work? Because I would approach an obstacle, and how I feel like we're moving in the correct direction is I would make a change and I would attempt to approach the line in the same way that I always do in a typical approach for that gate or line, and it wouldn't work. And I'd be like, what is going on? So I would go to the line that you can't get to, particularly like the entries to gate 3 and gate 5 at, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, to gates 4 and gates 6 at the back 9. I'm sorry, at green line. I've been running back 9 as well. And it can go to places that I previously couldn't go to. So some of the changes have been reasonably small. Some of the changes have been more severe. Do I feel like this is too much weight in the front? When you put your fingers right under here and you go to lift this up, that first pressure against it feels like it's mechanically attached to the ground. All the geometry is trying to fight against lifting that up. Meanwhile, the rear, it feels a little bit like it wants to tumble over forward while sitting on a flat surface. There's far more resistance there because this is overwhelming the geometry. But when you come up from here, I know I can't transmit how much pressure I'm applying, but to do that requires no effort at all. And this, honestly, it feels like the rig weighs 10 pounds. So we'll do the old single cam. I'll hit some little spots. We'll see how it looks and feels, and then we'll move on from there. This is how tuning goes. We don't include it all into the episode because it's hours and hours and hours. And if there's only one thing, one singular thing that I would like to drive home to you is go to your crawling spot, wherever that might be. You might only need one thing, one little repeatable obstacle. If it's something that gives you fits, that's the one you want. You go to it and you are equipped with your little pouch of tools. Just make changes. Just make the changes. If you want to try a link in a middle hole versus the upper hole, do that. Move that link. You will be able to tell right away. There are formulas and thinking and speculations, and then there's the rig on the rock. I say it a bajillion times, and I'll say it a bajillion more. What is the rig doing that you don't want it to do? What is the rig not doing that you do want it to do? Over time, you'll develop a skill set to go along with the tool set. And you'll be able to say, well, I think what it needs is it needs a little more spring. It needs the shock to be laid down a little more because I've tested it before and I know what the results are when I lay that shock down. A lot of the stuff does transfer. Now, if I move this shock back one hole on this rig and then grab something else that operates on a different geometry and move that shock one hole, the results may vary. I think we might have overbiased, but we can address some of that with geometry and the rest of it with moving bits and pieces around. So, better to look at it on the rocks. I mean, it does look great sitting right there, but better to look at it on the rocks. So follow me, will you, as we go and do exactly that. I would be remiss if I did not point out that there's one thing about the body that this vehicle comes fitted with. Whether you like the cosmetics, I think it's a little short, so it makes the bed section look really long. But I also consider it free, as it's included with the vehicle. And kits coming with bodies now is becoming incredibly rare. But there's one thing that is not an arguable point about that body, and that is, listen to this. And then remove that body and find that that body is an amp. It's one of the quietest rigs here until you put its silver hat on. The sound just bounces around inside that body. So what it has become is, she is very forward drivey, very, very forward drivey. And better still, when you get into the points where it's going to give you bad transfer, ooh, this though is, this is like pucker factor 9 when descending. Look at it. It's already. Keeping that rear end down. It's the circus dog on descents. Most descents end just like that. It's you get the tumble down more often than not, but there's so much power forward. It's really kind of crazy, and because the geometry and the all that added brass in the front is working on just pure ascending. Yes, the descent, it suffers. And that is something that will ultimately be addressed, because we have to determine what are we willing to give for what we want to get. It is all compromise. And the configuration that it's in now, we are compromising. We are sacrificing descendability for just absolute pure uphill performance. Every approach to a descent, there's zero weight on the rear axle. It's just floating. You cannot let off the throttle while descending at all. So, you know, balance. It's all about balance. But when you get into Madam Mim's territory, stuff gets easier. I have run green line some great many times, to the point where there's a couple spots where I have a standing position where I need to stand in the right spot to be able to see what's happening. But beyond that, we take a line so high entering 3 that no one else goes right here, because that right there is the rear end, light as it is, forcing that front end down. Because typically, I'm waiting for that front end to give way. When that driver rear drops, you'd expect the front end to start to follow it, but not only does it not follow it, right there. This is a rollout position for many. But this is the mullet, this is the geo, this is the weight distribution, this is the density of the insert. This is everything attempting to take everything into consideration in the hopes that we can make it do all of the things we want it to do when we want it to do them. I want that rear to help pull me right there. I want to come in as tight to the right side as possible on entry, right there. Actually go under and then cut back, and don't release the steering. There we go. That's how you do that. If you have a setup that will allow you to do it. We enter 5 and we enter the spot, which is where all the marbles are kept. 5, even if that's an entry like that is disaster unless it's forcing the nose like this one is, because when that rear drops in like that, but because we're almost driving like it's a crawling unicycle, the rear, when like in a side hill situation, the rear's not really doing much. So, this is the spot right here. Ordinarily, you're looking at that mushed up driver front, and you have that slab that's at about a 30-degree angle to the approach. It kind of points like an arrow in between the two gates. Ordinarily, I mean, you can see how this edge right here, see how that's all rawed up? That's from axles and chassis and everything dragging on that, usually the knuckles and C-hubs, because you've got to hook that edge and kind of pull the rear end. You want to kind of swing your rear end down. Well, that's not how we approach in this. We come right here across this face, and we want to get in tight right there. And then what we're hoping for is that nose to push us just a little bit, and then hook back. Don't let go of the wheel. And then we go right through, right like that. And the list of rigs that can perform that little maneuver, you could certainly count on one hand. You might be able to count it on one finger, if I'm being completely honest. So we then wrap it around. We come 7, 8, 9, and what we do is we try not to be overwhelmed by our own hubris and sense of complacency. You have to get the front axle through because it's straight. And then you want to cut the hook as hard as you can. And because those tires are so compliant in the front, you're going to miss that left side gate by over the width of a tire, which is what you want to do. Then we're going to try not to roll it as we go down, and we have a ton of compliance in the suspension. So it's really not much of a concern. And then again, fighting that hubris, we want to stay yellow side. We want to get up right here. And there are moments right there. That's a giveaway moment for most setups. And then what we do is we're real high on the yellow side because we know where the tricks and the traps are. We watch out for this little point, which will snag our front axle. We come down right here. She does not get upset. She is mad in that there's insanity. She is not mad in that she is angry, because that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you take a reasonably fresh setup and you come out to a known terrain, and on the green line, you put down a 0. No cuts, no edits, no redos. Brought it out here and ran a 0 because I knew that setup as it sits could do it. Can it descend? Not really. But as always, no one is the best at everything. So we made a choice. We made a decision and a sacrifice because we said, I want maximum climb. I want, did you see that front end just high up on the side? And watch, because the rear acts so weightless all the time, that rear is not gonna it basically doesn't have weight to transfer on us. So it can't swing around and throw us down off of what we're on. I wish that there was a way, much like I wish we could institute smell-o-vision, because somewhere around here, dead or alive, there is a skunk, and it's not happy. And I know there's a term for it. It's like if you say a word, it's the sense equivalent of if you say a word over and over and over and over again, it loses all meaning. It's got like syntactical blindness or something. Like if you just say rowboat, 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 rowboat. After a while, you're like, what the hell is a rowboat? That's what's happened to my nose from the skunk. And then every once in a while, a little wisp of the breeze will come through and freshen it up. And I go, I don't like that. We got a little, okay. All right, with this, okay. We already ran the 0. We'll just ride the high of the 0. What I need to do is pay more attention when descending, particularly because she's not set up for it. I'm not going to say she's not built for it. She's not set up for it. But as soon as that terrain starts to trend up, like we get right here, side hilling doesn't even feel like side hilling. That front end is getting forced down. Okay, that right there, moving up high white side like that, again, maybe counting it on one finger. And this is what the constant tuning is about. We're trying to find out how to make, it's not just about getting the parts in concert. It's about getting it set up in such a way that what is your approach to tuning? Are you tuning yourself to the proclivities of the vehicle, or are you tuning the proclivities of the vehicle to yourself? I genuinely make every effort to tune the vehicle to me, because, you know, change comes from within, and I don't want to change. I will change unbeknownst even to myself over time. When you get a bad entry, what you do is stick with it and see. Okay, now pushing that back down is a maneuver that can be accomplished by a vehicle that can probably be counted on one finger. Watch how flat the front end. I have this feeling of just pure stability until it's time to go downhill. And then, no pun intended, it kind of all goes downhill. So let's see if we can do a wide out twofer. Again, the Madam has a completely different approach to this. Did I get it? Not quite. So the way she needs or wants to approach this is you need to get right here. And you don't want it to drop down too soon. That's too soon. So I actually haven't tried doing 6 in the conventional way, which is kind of an oblique coming through it at about 45 degrees. And you want to hook it and swing that up. Oh yeah, we got that, no problem. And then we'll hook this edge and we'll ride along that face, and then we'll pull ourselves up and we'll come across. And I want to keep it reasonably low across the bottom right here, right there. The rear did try to transfer what it has, but there's just so much bias in the geometry. The geometry is pushing all forward. So what you do get is this situation where when right here, I have no worries because we're basically going up, up, up. But there's going to be a point, what I need to do is get the axle housing over. I needed to get the axle housing over that centered rock. But maybe I don't. Because I'm driving mentally, I'm in the old tune. And I don't know how to do this yet. Because we're constantly adapting the rig to us and the rig to the course and ourselves to the course. And it's not a genie, it's a wizard. So we can't spirit our way into exactly what we want. We have to, well, there's the line. I didn't need to be way over on the other side. I'll figure it out. Over a long enough time frame, we'll all figure it out. And I may take 2 hacks at 8 and then call it. I don't like 8. Unless we've incidentally tuned it to where now we're good at 8. That's really under that underhang. It doesn't feel like it's, well, it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. Yeah, there it is. I still hate gate 8. And we're into the fraction of a percent, which is the best and worst place to be, because you're like, we've got the tune. The tune feels good. But then at the same time, there are those parts of it that do not cooperate. Oh, you're going to hold it, aren't you? Don't you do it. Don't you do it. I hate it so much. I hate it so much. Of all the things I have made out here, I hate none more than front 9 gate 8. Now, I still haven't cut the markers for the blue course yet, so I might hate those more. That's not a good entry. That's not a good entry. See, we're just too light. And now I've got the housing bound in. Yeah, I mean, it gets better. So we take solace in the fact that the first 6 at front 9 are cake. And that Madam Mim already has Greenline's number. And then we see, do we really have as much forward drive as we think we do? Well, we have to obviously take into consideration that we're going in ice cold. Have I driven this rig here? Yes. Have I driven this rig in this setup and configuration here? No. Come on, Megs. Come on, Megs. We're too far out on the right side, I think. Unless we can keep that weight up there. I'm trying to hook driver front. I cut back. I had it. But instead of going upside down onto our head, get it? This is what I'm talking about. Is that in the final 1%? Trying to catch it. We just kind of fall back. All right, try crab it more. And now hook. A little bit out. There we go. Nothing else, no other setup currently, I don't think, will allow that much fall away and then catch it. So can we get the waterfall proper up the toughest side? Not yet. But I have confidence that we will. Can we get up a face that most cannot? Yeah, we can. That is neither friendly, nor easy. Top of the peak, high atop Hannah, Montana. Madam Mim. The Wizard is extraordinarily well thought out, and it is a pleasure to work on, and it is receptive to changes. And if you have the opportunity, I mean, get one, honestly. Be aware, you will spend money on it. I'm thinking about putting a different motor in it. I'm thinking I could go up, because I have so much gearing range. I'm thinking I could go up in KV, get a little more power out of it. Then go up to like a 2200, get myself a Rhino S12 in that like 2240 I think they've got. Just because I want to, you know? If you get something that feels really good and you want to buy things for it, that's the place to be, as far as I'm concerned. You know what else is the place to be? Right here. So the canyon is the place to be. Y'all come back and see us here in the canyon. You know I don't want to drive down off the top of that. This thing doesn't descend. It does everything else. Pretty amazing. So do we want to make those changes? Do we want to make those? Do we want to trade back? Kind of no. So, but we'll keep tinkering nonetheless, and I hope you tune back to see which direction that tuning takes us. I'd like to thank you so much for being here today. We look forward to, of course, seeing you here again in the future, and we hope that in the meantime, you one and all do your very best to have a good one, everybody. We'll see you again here for the canyon real soon. Let's do it. We can roll out a frame if we don't make it. Oh, nope. I should have followed my instincts.